This is not even arguably, but this is the most important thing for everybody that's on TRT to know. Look, there's a lot of sources of information out there on how to dial in testosterone replacement therapy. There's a lot of discussion about the metabolite hormones, DHT and estradiol, and it generally skews, oddly, in the direction of pro-estradiol, and that DHT, doesn't matter, causes hair loss, enlarges your prostate, useless after puberty. Imagine having the most critical element of your TRT protocol and your sexual function on TRT, which is dihydrotestosterone, not only being overlooked, but instead more alarmingly discounted. This is one of the most important videos that I will ever do and that I have ever done. We are going to break down this big, long paper on Online Library Wiley titled Androgens Play a Pivotal Role in Maintaining Penile Tissue Architecture and Erection. Listen, we're going to break down the precise mechanisms by which testosterone's conversion to DHT literally keeps your penis working. And without it, your penis doesn't work. The great news about my argument on being pro-DHT is that it's all here in the scientific journals. So sit back, relax, grab a beer, strap in, because I'm going to give you the most important video that I've ever given you so that moving forward on TRT, you know how to stay dialed in terms of sexual function. Let's get into it. All right, before we get into the video, look, Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a TRT guidance and sexual dysfunction resolution company. Got a range of different products ranging from sourceless. Look, any anabolic you can think of, including high-potency DHT, which you might need to dial in and is the basis for this video. Just get sourceless. It is 20% off right now, livecortex.com. I'm a coach. If you don't want to go out this alone, just hire me. 3-month, 6-month packages, single-session consults, 3 and 6 months for 30% off right now. We will fix the sexual dysfunction on TRT. Book me in under a minute, livecortex.com. Lastly, the most popular course we have is Mastering Testosterone Cream for Libido and Erections. It breaks down all the protocols that work, shows you how to surgically use cream to dial in sexual function. 20% off. Codes on the screen or down below. Now, let's start off with the abstract and some critical points in the abstract. Number one, based on data from our laboratory and those reported by others, we believe that androgens play a pivotal role in maintaining the structure and function of the peripheral penile nerve network, the structural integrity of the corpora cavernosa, the tunica albuginea, and the endothelium of the cavernous spaces. Further, androgens play an important role in regulating the differentiation of precursor cells into trabecular smooth muscle. Let's talk about the peripheral nerve network for a second. The male organ has tiny nerves that do the following. Number 1, detect touch. Number 2, trigger arousal. Number 3, release nitric oxide. And number 4, tell blood vessels to open. It is androgens and specifically DHT that keep those nerves functional. When androgens drop, nerve signaling weakens, sensitivity drops, and erections become harder to trigger. Androgens maintaining the structural integrity of the corpora cavernosa. The corpora cavernosa, just to simplify it, are 2 sponge-like chambers in the male organ that fill with blood during an erection. They're actually the main erectile bodies. If they're strong, rigid erections. If those muscles are strong, you've got rigid erections. If they become fibrotic or fatty, which would happen in the absence of DHT, you get erectile dysfunction. What the paper is generally saying is that androgens, and specifically testosterone's conversion to 5-alpha dihydrotestosterone, keep the erectile chambers muscular, elastic, and strong. Without androgens, and we actually see this in the Finasteride literature, smooth muscle shrinkens, collagen increases, right? We see collagen deposition in the use of 5-alpha reductase inhibitors and therefore a killing of your DHT. Fat cells infiltrate, and then you have this thing called venous leakage, right? Let's take it down further in the paper. Androgens maintain penile, cavernosal, and dorsal nerve structure and function. Again, the corpus cavernosa is those 2 sponge-like chambers which fill blood when you have an erection. Androgens maintain that. This paper showed that androgen deprivation by castration, which, by the way, is the same thing that happens if you reduce your DHT substantially by blocking 5-alpha reductase enzymes, or if somehow you're just not getting enough DHT. You don't have to block the enzymes. If you're not getting enough DHT from your TRT protocol, you're going to get penile atrophy. What it does is it alters the structure of the dorsal nerve. Depriving someone of androgens also, in addition to altering the structure of the dorsal nerve, results in venous leakage. Testosterone treatment immediately following castration prevented the venous leakage and restored intracavernosal pressure to values similar to those of intact animals. Now you might think, okay, well, all I need is testosterone. Well, yeah, because it converts to DHT, but test by itself will not restore erection quality. It's about the DHT. I'm going to jump quickly to this paper, The Dark Side of 5-alpha reductase inhibitors therapy, sexual dysfunction, high Gleason grade prostate cancer, and depression. Now, this is a very, very important paragraph within this study. What they noted, well, here, let me just move this up a little bit, is that castration of mature male animals resulted in reduced erectile function and treatment of castrated animals with T or its 5-alpha reduced metabolite 5-alpha DHT reversed this effect. Administration of purely 5-alpha DHT, this is right here, with or without 5-AR inhibitors, restored sexual behavior in long-term castrated male rats in mice, suggesting a critical role for 5-alpha dihydrotestosterone in erectile physiology. They didn't say a critical role of testosterone. They clearly specify that the overarchingly influential sex hormone, or androgen, is DHT in erectile physiology. And then the nail in the coffin. However, treatment with testosterone together with finasteride, just testosterone, did not restore the erectile response in castrated animals. Well, what does that tell us? Well, testosterone is not really the pro-erectile hormone. It's anabolic, it increases your metabolism, it is healthy for your heart. It converts to dihydrotestosterone, which is far more of a potent agonist, as we all know, which disassociates at a much lower rate at the androgen receptor. When they, even using finasteride, which again, I warn against, you should not play Russian roulette with your sexual function, but administration of 5-alpha DHT together with finasteride, however, restored nitric oxide synthase expression and activity and also restored the erectile response to electrical field stimulation. That and NOS, the nitric oxide synthase, these are the enzymes that convert your arginine into usable nitric oxide in the male organ. You cannot go without it. You reduce DHT, you reduce the expression of NOS. You reduce DHT, you reduce the health of the thin lining of the blood vessels, the endothelium. Here's another sentence that says it all. It says it all about DHT. Reduced erectile response and reflex erections were observed in castrated animals, and treatment of castrated animals with T or 5-alpha DHT restored the number of erectile responses and reflex erections. Well, of course, if it's just testosterone, it will convert to DHT and therefore restore erections. They go, however, only 5-alpha DHT or DHT restored the erectile response and reflex erections when animals were treated with daily injections of a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. Case in point, okay, proven in the medical journals. This is the stuff that I have seen for years, so to me, it's not like it's even a question. It's DHT. DHT is what makes the penis work. Now, what we want to understand is how this correlates to and what this means for our TRT protocols. I have long identified that esters like Cypionate and Endothate, unless they're dosed pretty high in the 150 to 200 milligram a week range, often don't supply enough dihydrotestosterone, and you end up at those higher end doses with overrange estradiol. So there you're in somewhat of a minor post-finasteride syndrome state where you're dominated by estradiol largely. You have some DHT, it's just not enough to counterbalance the estrogen, so it makes the ratio wacky. The DHT estrogen ratio is the most important ratio you could ever consider on TRT. It is not one set ratio that you should have, but if you want to create the ratio from 55 to 90 nanograms per deciliter DHT with 20 to 35 picograms per milliliter of estradiol, which is where most men should be, and you're going to get great sexual function there, go ahead and create the ratio. But I see all kinds of things. I see 120, 150, 200 DHT with 30 or 35 estradiol or 27 estradiol work as well. I think once you get above that to 300, 400 DHT, then you're blocking E2 too much at the gene expression level, at the tissue level, and you get sexual dysfunction because it's too much DHT then. So it can work both ways. If you go on testosterone cream and you're applying that cream mostly to other parts of your body, call it your shoulders or your chest or your forearm, with limited or no application to the scrotum, guess what? You're going to run into the same problems that the people that take Cypionate do when they don't have enough DHT and they got too much estrogen signaling. Just try it. Like every single guy that's dialed in using test cream when he's using it on the scrotum, if you just switch that to an otherwise body side application, sexual dysfunction is almost guaranteed to ensue. Why? Because testosterone is not the driver of erectile quality in men. You're converting less to DHT by putting it somewhere else and therefore more to estradiol. Now, I want to make this clear. That doesn't mean that, you should put it strictly on the scrotum, right? Because I'm putting 3 and 2, 2 and 3, right? It just kind of goes back and forth so that I can keep my estrogen DHT axis in the right place. But you need to understand, everybody needs to understand, right? Keeping the scientific literature, all those major points made in the journals in mind, that it is the critical cornerstone of your TRT protocol to have enough DHT. That is your first and primary goal. Obviously, your second and secondary goal is keeping estrogen in your sweet spot range. Again, normally 20 to 35. Some people get away with 35 to 40. 45 often starts causing erectile dysfunction thereafter. Some people, they get above 30, ED ensues. Don't be swayed by both the anti-DHT folks. These are mainly hair loss channels, so they're only speaking about DHT from that angle, and they're right. DHT can cause hair loss. It reduces the subcutaneous tissue, the water, the buffer in the scalp, making hair follicles less healthy. But what people have to keep in mind, and what they don't say because they're so biased against DHT, is that you can have enough DHT to support penile endothelium, smooth muscle function, the chambers that fill the penis with blood during erection, the corpora cavernosa tissues, and not have hair loss. It's all about the right amount of DHT. So be warned. Don't be swayed by those people. I mean, it's your life, but in the end, I care about what the sentiment is out there, and people having the right information. It's going to lead you down the wrong path. I get plenty of people from the hair loss channels that come to me for sexual dysfunction. At the same time, don't be swayed by the individuals that tell you that the predominantly female hormone, which we have a very tight range in the actual reference ranges, it does not go above 29 picograms per milliliter, that doesn't need to be factored into your T protocol or managed. I mean, there are some clinics that won't test it, okay? Whether or not they highlight the significance of DHT, be warned to stay away from them. Even in the presence of high DHT, elevated estradiol is going to cause problems with erectile function. So let's talk about practical stuff. On your prop protocols, measure the DHT. Make sure when you're peaking and when you're troughing, you still have enough DHT. On your cream protocols, depending on where you're putting it, make sure you have enough DHT. Situate your protocol so that DHT is high and estrogen is in range. On your Cypionate protocols, I beg you people that are dosing Cypionate and been having problems for a long time, recognize your problem is almost definitely not enough DHT relative to the estradiol you have. Too much estradiol, even if you have enough DHT. You've got to get that E2 down, and you have to have the high DHT. This is why, one of the best Cypionate protocols like known to man is 200 milligrams with an AI. Because guess what you get there? If you can dial it in. Not everyone can, because AIs are harsh drugs. You get high DHT and you get estrogen in range. You can take any man on a dialed in TRT protocol with high DHT and in-range estradiol, and you can do two things and cause sexual dysfunction. You could reduce the DHT, like scrotal applications solely, or some sort of split that keeps the DHT pretty high, and then you switch to full shoulder application of testosterone cream. That's going to cause sexual dysfunction, by the way, for most people. Or it takes someone that has enough DHT and estrogens in range, and then you just double their dose of HCG. Double the dose of HCG, or maybe give them actual estrogen valerate. Then they're going to have ED. This is the answer I have been screaming like from the rooftops to folks so that everybody understands that this is the answer to all of your problems on androgens. Now, like once you get those things in range, may there be some additional things that you have to tweak? Yeah, I mean, TRT can be a dance for some people. You might overaccumulate 1 week in estradiol, and you're like, what the hell happened? And then it's like, then you might overaccumulate in DHT based on scrotal application 6 weeks later. That's where the scientific protocol engineering part comes in, and that's what I do. But if you keep this in mind, you factor in the literature, DHT is the most important thing for erectile quality. You go without it, your protocol changes, you reduce the DHT, the E2 comes up, you are in erectile dysfunction territory. In the end, there's forums with hundreds, if not thousands, of people with problems on TRT. I get inquiries every single day for years. I've got a list of clients that I'm working with to fix these problems all the time. The answer is right in front of us, and it's also in the scientific journals. DHT dominant, estrogen in range. Because in the end, as the papers tell us, androgens, specifically DHT, maintain the structure, the integrity, the function, the health of the male penis. Never forget that. All right, look, boys, I built a bunch of products tailored to bringing my message to people, but with protocols that actually work. Look, Mastering Testosterone Cream is the most comprehensive video course that shows you, I mean, concisely to the point of what works with testosterone cream. It's called Mastering Testosterone Cream for Libido and Erections. It is a video course. It is 20% off right now. It is protocol rich. It shows you what to avoid if you're going on cream, how to control estrogen effortlessly, DHT skyrocketing, hybrid protocols that make sense. Importantly, restoring youthful erections and restoring primal libido. You can get this livecortex.com, start watching and start executing. If you're having a hard time dialing in on cream or want to switch to cream, you'll save a year. Just get the course. It's 20% off right now. Sourceless. We need to get DHT itself. Test prop. I mean, people dial in on that a hell of a lot easier than Cypionate. But anything else you can think of, including ancillaries, HCG for a lot cheaper, just get Sourceless. It's 20% off right now, livecortex.com. If you don't want to go at it alone, this is all I do. You know, some people are specialists at, I don't know, complex conveyor belts in big car factories. They've been doing it for 20 years. They're the people to call when something breaks. I'm the person to call when the sexual function breaks on TRT. This is all I do. Look, I've got one-on-one protocol engineering coaching packages. You're working directly with me. We will get the situation resolved. Erection issues, libido issues, sensation issues, climax issues. Right now, 3 and 6 month one-on-one ongoing coaching programs, 30% off for a brief time. That discount is going away this week. Code's on the screen. If you go down to coaching packages, I also have a single session call and a protocol formulation. It's just a single session consult. For those of you that don't want coaching, you can book that in under a minute, livecortex.com. All right, my brothers in test. I hope this has been an informational video. Like the video, really means a lot to me, and it makes a huge difference on the channel. If you do, sub to the channel. Look, if you're coming to this channel now, maybe you've been like listening to the anti-DHT folks, the pro-estrogen folks, or having sexual dysfunction, you're in the right place. I'd love to have you on board. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you boys on the next one.